we talked about on yesterday's show, Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville, and his inability to condemn clearly white nationalism, and his apparently misunderstanding of, or he's choosing to pretend like he misunderstands what white nationalism is. And he goes, oh, well, white nationalism, that's what I call Americans. Unless it's racism, then I don't like racism. Josiah, it's all completely ridiculous. Of course, it's the dog whistle on purpose. That's why he's going, oh, what nationalism? Is it racist? What? Before we discuss further and get to the subject of this story, which is his own brother speaking out against him, let me remind you of this disastrous CNN interview, or a part of it that we covered yesterday, where he does this weird dance.
But just to be clear, you agree that white nationalists should not be serving in the U.S. military. Is that what you're saying?
If people think that a white nationalist is a racist, I agree with that. I agree they should.
A white nationalist is someone who believes that the white race is superior to other races.
Well, that's some people's opinion. And I don't think,
That's
I mean,
not an opinion.
a lot. Pardon?
What's your opinion?
My opinion of a white nationalist, if somebody wants to call him white nationalist, to me is an American. It's an American. Now, if that white nationalist is a racist, I'm totally against anything that they want to do, because I am 110% against racism.
So Josiah, I want you to get me an apple, okay? But don't bring me any fruit. If it's a fruit, I don't want it. But you might call an apple a fruit. I call an apple an American. But if an apple's a fruit, I don't want it. I don't want any fruit.
I know you're going for an analogy there, and it makes sense, but I'm hearing that quote, and I could hear Tommy Tuberville say it. I could hear him say
I don't want a fruit, but I want an apple.
In the Washington, D.C. mess hall when he's ordering lunch. Gosh.
So let me give you this news real quick, and then we'll discuss further. This is from the independent Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville has evoked outrage and scorn from Democratic critics in recent weeks. Democratic critics? Why can't it just be reasonable people? In recent weeks, with a string of incendiary comments defending white nationalists and suggesting that teachers in inner cities are illiterate. This is a little bit from a few weeks ago. This reporting was fresh. This recent interview is new, but the brother speaking out is a little bit older, and that's where the inner cities comment came from. Now, his own brother has added his voice to the chorus of Americans who've been offended and dismayed by the first-term senator's phrase into racism. On Friday, the musician Charles Tuberville took to his Facebook account to condemn his brother, and he said that he's compelled to distance himself from his brother following the disastrous radio interview in which the ex-football coach said he calls white nationalists Americans who deserve to be permitted to serve in the U.S. Armed Forces. And let's see here, recaps what we're talking about. And the brother said, due to recent statements by promoting racial stereotypes, white nationalism, and other various controversial topics, I feel compelled to distance myself from his ignorant, hateful rants. His brother. Yeah. He's right. But I don't know what on earth is going on with Tommy Tuberville, Josiah.
No, and going back to the metaphor you provided, just to spell it out for those who may be watching.
For Tommy.
Or Tommy. Tommy, if you're watching, please. Number one, resign. Just number one, please resign. Number two, regardless, listen, so the point is this. To be a white nationalist, you must be a racist. By definition, that is the first step. Like, you can't be a non-racist white nationalist. The two are inextricably linked. They cannot be mutually exclusive at all. That was the point of Luke's analogy, and that's what Caitlin Collins, in her exasperation and perplexity, was trying to convey to you, that you can't have just like you can't have a non-fruit banana, you can't have a non-racist white supremacist or white nationalist. And just, again, to me, just stepping on a rake, why do you feel the need to embrace that term? And it just goes to show, my theory is this. Again, they know, the Republican Party knows they're on the wrong side of history on virtually every topic. They know their policies, such as they are wildly unpopular. They know that in order to win, they have to rig the game and harness the vociferous support of every certain group that they need, including fascists, including white nationalists as well. That's part of the reason why, for years people speculated that it was the reason that Donald Trump didn't want to distance himself and condemn white nationalists and militia groups or whatever, because he felt that he needed them. He felt that he had no margin for error. He didn't want to turn them away, even as he wanted to somewhat distance himself from them for the sake of convenience in the media. I think it's the same thing with Tommy Tuberville, where he's trying to straddle both worlds. He's like, damn, I don't want to be seen as, openly embracing white nationalists, but I also don't want to, reject them outright either. So he tries for this like weird middle of the road approach, which is just, I think it's one of the most awkward statements said by a Republican in modern times. And that's saying something.
Awkward and vile, because we know what he's doing. He understands that white nationalists are racist. It's what you're saying. He needs, so that he can walk that fence, or that tightrope, he needs to hear himself say that I'm against racism, but he doesn't want to offend the racists that support him. And so then he has to say that pretzel twisted logic
incoherent mess.
Yeah. And he's continued with this even after that interview. Here's another example of this from a recent reporter who caught up with him.
Explain why you continue to insist that white nationalists are American.
Listen, I'm totally against racism. And if the Democrats want to say that white nationalists are racist, I'm totally against that too.
But that's not a democratic definition. The definition of a white nationalist
Well,
is
that's your
someone...
definition. My definition
It is the
racism
definition.
bad.
The definition. The definition is that the belief that the white race is superior to all other races.
Totally out of the question.
So do you believe that white...
I gotta be honest, just I think if you ever find yourself having to repeat racism is bad, something's gone awry. Why are you having to clarify that so many times, Tommy? I said during the last segment on this, the reason both of us take a lighthearted approach on stories like this is so that we can stay sane and not always be angry perpetually. And I've had people reach out and say, I like listening to your show because I can get information, but not leave feeling like I want to punch something. So that's what we're trying to do. That's why we're staying lighthearted. But I understand how enraging and just disturbing it is that the modern Republican Party is this. That is the face of the modern Republican Party, or you can fill in other current politicians. And that is really, really unfortunate.
Well, yeah, and Tommy Tuberville is not an outlier. I mean, remember Steve King? I mean, the Republican Party, even the modern Republican Party, has had a well-developed history of figures who are either slow to condemn white nationalism or white supremacy, or do what Tommy Tuberville did and what Steve King did, which is basically say, well, I mean, in a certain context, by a certain definition, white nationalists aren't so bad. And it's just like, again, why choose to die on this hill? And again, I say that rhetorically because we do know why, right? It's not like they have a surplus of supporters. They know that it's like what's the expression? Not all Republicans are white nationalists, but white nationalists are probably Republicans, in the sense that that is the political proxy that white nationalists are probably going to hew closely to. And because the Republican leaders know that they don't have a surplus of supporters and they need every possible vote they can to punch above their weight class, they want to awkwardly straddle this line where it's like, really don't like this. I know this is bad PR, but I really need the bodies, so to speak, here. And they try to split the difference. And this is the result. And we saw Donald Trump do it with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, with right-wing white nationalist militias. And I don't see it changing anytime soon. You can bet that this man will not be censured.
Oh, yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, Marjorie Greene, ladies and gentlemen, is currently buddy with Kevin McCarthy in response to her getting kicked out of the House Freedom Caucus. I was seeing some reporting on Kevin McCarthy giving her props and talking about how great she is. And that is now, again, the face of the modern Republican Party. Quick game, okay? I promise we haven't planned this, so let's just see if you guess the correct one, because I have one more clip in this segment to show you. How to word this? You would know, complete the sentence. You would know your life has gone horribly, horribly wrong if you were worse than this Republican senator. It's not Tommy Tuberville, but I'm about to show you a clip of someone who passes the very, very low bar that Tommy Tuberville can't. And Tommy Tuberville has fallen below this individual on this issue. Who would you not want to fall below?
I would say Ted Cruz or Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell. There we go.
Oh, did I get it? Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me show you this clip. Somehow Mitch McConnell is making, or somehow Tommy Tuberville is making Mitch McConnell look correct. Take a look.
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have any concerns that you have a member of your conference, Senator Tuberville, who seems to have a hard time denouncing white nationalism, especially as it pertains to white nationalism in the military?
Yeah, white supremacy is simply unacceptable in the military and in our whole country.
I mean, if Mitch McConnell can do it, it's really that simple. We don't need all these interviews. We don't need all these follow-up questions. That's it. It's real simple. We don't need and should push back against extremist, vile views like those. And even Mitch McConnell can spit out those words. Tommy Tuberville can't.
Yeah, you know he was Tommy. That's all you needed to say, Tommy. Just say. I mean, just that
It's
simple.
not that hard.
Yes, it's really not that hard, Tommy. You know, like
I think he's giving up because now Trump owns the party and he's just kind of like, oh gosh, I don't even have the energy to do the dog whistle right now.
Yeah, once upon a time, I think he would have. It was funny, like playing that clip, which I had not seen before. I expected some because McConnell is low key capable of some shade and of like giving clever answers. And yeah, to your point, he just takes a question at face value, doesn't try to spin it in a certain way. It's just like, yeah, white supremacists and white nationalists suck. And like you can just like see the defeat in his face, like whatever. This has become my caucus. This is what I have to work with. You look at that. You see his face. That is the look of a man who is just seeing the nadir of his own party. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for watching. For the outro on this video, I want to plug Josiah's channel. Hit them with it, Josiah.
Hey everybody, I appreciate you watching. You can find me at youtube.com/@Pondering Politics, one word, Pondering Politics. If you like progressive commentary that focuses on coalition building with other elements of the left and calling the Republican Party out for what it's become, I hope you'll view my channel, give me a like and subscribe and some feedback. Again, youtube.com/@Pondering Politics. Thanks again.